What's up, everybody? In this video, we are going to talk about Isaiah Stewart. We haven't talked about him. He played a couple games in Summer League, looked pretty darn good, which you'd expect him to do. But we're going to talk about why Isaiah Stewart is the key to the Detroit Pistons front court rotation. We know right now that the front court rotation is almost looking like a logjam. Some people could argue that there are 5 centers on this team, right? And I'm going to try and name them all right now. You have Jalen Duren, the rookie. You have Nerlens Noel, who you traded for. You have Kelly Olynyk. You have Marvin Bagley, and you have Isaiah Stewart. You have 5 guys that you're like, oh man, all are probably worthy of playing. And then you have a couple of those guys where you're like, are they 4s? Are they 5s? Kelly Olynyk I think he's a 5. I think just his mobility kind of puts him in that 5 position. He could play 4 because of his ability to stretch the floor, but that is about the only thing that he would excel at the 4 position. Marvin Bagley has played a lot of 4, but I think he proved that as a 5, he's probably even better. So let's keep Bags at the 5. So we now have a problem. We have 5 guys that their preferred position would probably be center, and you want to play at least 3 of these guys regularly. I think as Pistons fans, I think most people would like to see Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, and Marvin Bagley get decent minutes each game. Kelly Olynyk, Nerlens Noel, you kind of know what they have. They're veteran guys. Most fans are probably like, I don't really need to see them on the floor. But I'm going to tell you how this floor can be spaced even more and how we can get good minutes for at least 3, if not 4 of these guys at this position, and Isaiah Stewart is the key. So in order to talk about this, I want to pull up, this is last year's stats. This is the last 10 games for Isaiah Stewart. And what I think is so interesting about this is the 3-point field goals. Not that he started taking them. By the way, this is when he started taking them. And this, I probably could have gone even more than 10, but it's a nice even number. So if you look at the columns right here, 3 points made, 3-point attempts, you got, he's shooting about 2-3 a game, and he's making them at about a 66% clip overall. I mean, like he's shooting the ball really, really well, and he just started shooting. So he's a guy who starts taking threes, making threes. Now, that's not the only thing that makes him good for playing the 4. I'm going to talk about what else makes him good, but for now, let's just talk about this shooting. We saw it in the back end of his rookie year where he started shooting, and then he went, and in between 2 years ago and last year, remember he was on the NBA Select, I think like the junior team, not junior, but you know what I'm talking about, like the young guys on the FIBA team, something like that. So he played on that team. Hurt his ankle, hurt his foot. I don't know. It's a mystery wrapped up in an enigma. But anyways, he gets hurt there and he loses a lot of his training. Then he comes back and it becomes very apparent very quickly that the coaching staff did not want to use him as a stretch 5, but they wanted him to practice finishing around the basket. They wanted him around the hoop. And I think part of that was offensive rebounding, but also just to develop that portion of his game. And really, through the first half of the year, he didn't even look at the basket. He didn't even look at the basket at all to shoot a 3. And then all of a sudden, he started looking a little bit more, but they weren't going in. And then all of a sudden, in the last quarter of the season, the last 10, 15, maybe even 20, 15 games, all of a sudden he started shooting and he shot the ball well. And then we go into Summer League, and he says like they want to play him at the 4 when they're at Summer League. Isaiah Stewart came out and said he's never played the power forward position before at any level. He's always been the 5. So he wanted to play the 4, and he shot the ball well in Summer League. He also had a couple of really nice passes. He also had a couple of bonehead plays too. But those are the growing pains that you have with a young team. So the shooting, if it's there, that is massive for the offensive side, but it's not the only thing that he has to be able to do. He has to be able to do the short roll passes. He has to be able, what else can he do on the offensive end other than just go stand in the corner? And maybe that's all they need. Maybe all they need is a big man that's going to be able to pick and pop or stand in the corner. And then you let Cade and Jaden Ivey and Sadiq Bey do their thing. So maybe that's all they want from the 4. But what about the defensive side of things? I think so many people forget that playing a 4 means that you are going to be having more difficult matchups on the defensive side of things. Isaiah Stewart's a big guy. He's only 6'8", but he's big. He's got that barrel chest. We know it, right? And we saw it against LeBron. I mean, he's a big boy. But what he proved, and this is, I told you I'd come around to it. This is the other thing that I think could make him a very valuable four in this league. He has the ability to switch onto wings, onto guards, and actually move his feet pretty darn well and stay in front of them. This is key for your power forward, for your four in today's NBA. You can't have two guys that you can't have just a drop big playing the four and the five. Can't have it. You need to be able to have switchability, especially positions 1 through 4. And with Isaiah Stewart, he does allow you to do that. He did a pretty good job of staying in front of people in the summer league. I think it's still a slight work in progress, but that's one of the things that he was so good at. I'm not saying he's not going to have time at the five. I don't know what Dwayne Casey's going to do with him, and I don't know how he's going to get all these guys minutes. Maybe his thought process is we're going to keep Olynyk and Noel healthy, and we're going to try and trade them at the trade deadline or before for future capital. And or maybe it's, hey, we're going to let our young guys develop in the G League. We're going to let Olynyk, we're going to let Noel play that first half of the year, that 15, 20 minutes a game, try not to get them hurt, but not play them too much, but just keep their value up. I don't know. And all this stuff could hurt a little bit, but I know fans will be very frustrated if we're continually running out Kelly Olynyk and Nerlens Noel, and we're sitting Bagley, Stewart, or Jalen Duren. So I think Isaiah Stewart, if he wants to have a position going forward on this team that is not coming off the bench, not just being like a 6th, 7th, 8th guy off the bench, he needs to prove that he can play the four and he can play it at a very high level. Because Jalen Duren, he's 18. He's already a man child. He's on his way up. And pretty soon he is going to be the starting center for this team within a couple years at most, at 3 years at most. And Isaiah Stewart, for all the things he does well, he just doesn't have the physical tools of a Jalen Duren. So I think if he can create that outside shot, if he can prove that that is a reliable shot, you could see Isaiah Stewart as someone like a Serge Ibaka. And I know that's a high comparison. Serge Ibaka has been a very good player in this league for a very long time. They have a similar build. They protect the rim both at a very decent rate. Serge might have been better when he was younger than Stewart ever will be. And then Serge developed that jump shot. And so if Isaiah Stewart can do the same thing, then you really are looking at a pretty powerful combo. And then when you look at it, you're like, all right, Stewart with Bagley. Well, you have the defensive Stewart and the offensive Bagley. And you have Stewart with Duren. All of a sudden, you have the strongest front court in the NBA. Like, that's really exciting to think about. If those things are coming into place, they could be really fun to watch. So that's why I wanted to talk about just a little bit about how Isaiah Stewart is absolutely the straw that stirs the drink when it comes to the front court. If he can create versatility, all of a sudden we don't have as much of a logjam in minutes as we thought we would going into the season. It'll be interesting to see what Dwayne Casey does with this rotation. I'm excited to see it. Let me know what you think. Can Isaiah Stewart play the four? Is he better at the four? I really think that might be his best position. Or is he just a little too outdated? Is he one of those tweeners where he's not quite athletic enough? He doesn't have quite good enough ball skills to play the four, but he's just a little not quite enough of a jumpy jump, not quite big enough to play the five. Is he an in between? And what he should be is a guy coming off the bench, and that's the best that we can expect from him. What do you think? Let me know. Hit those comments below. Hit that subscribe button right between this video and the comments if you like watching our videos. We love talking Pistons. We love talking Lions, and I'll see you on the next one.